Good afternoon. I am the king of all mediums, and I'd like to welcome you to podcast number 64. And the title of it is I Am Now a Beatles Completist. I'm so proud of this because it took a long time, actually. By the way, it's been a long time since I have done a podcast, so I don't know why. Just easier to do a live event, but you'll see the audio on these podcasts are much better because I go direct to YouTube. And one thing I'm a little worried about, I might run out of my iPhone. I'm having trouble getting out all these videos and photos. So. But we'll try to make it. Okay, so first ground rule. So what is a completist? That means you basically have every one of their songs, but you don't really have to in a way. So there are a couple of rules, okay? Let's go over the rules. Now, rule number one is all vinyl that was released when the group was active and includes live albums. Now, the Beatles never released a live album when they were active, 62 to 70. And they did. There were live albums released after. There was the Beatles at the Hollywood Bowl, live at the whatever, So just official releases by Parlophone and Capitol and Apple. I don't know if that might have been released during that period, but just official releases. And there were no live albums. Okay, so that's the first rule. Rule number one, just vinyl releases, official releases. Could be live albums, but got to be the period the group was active. And that brings up some interesting issues too. Let's say the group got together with a bunch of different guys. I'm not going to touch that. Okay, that happens a lot too. None of the original band members are, and they release an album. So there could be a classic. Rule to that too, but another interesting group is the Doors. The Doors, so to be a completist with the Doors, they actually released two albums after Jim Morrison died, and I'd say yes, you would have to have them, and the one live album, the Absolutely Live condition. Another question is number two, how about reissues? Do you have to have all of the original pressings? And I would say no, and one of the reasons why, first of all, reissues are very good. They're pretty much exactly what was there. They take the masters and they just make new copies, and the expense is the problem for the king. King is not a rich man, so he has that rule. He's not Mazzy, if you know who Mazzy is, and so he doesn't have all of the originals, although he has maybe one or two. Okay, and finally, now in Britain this is very common, and by the way, we're going by all the British releases. We're not going to use the American releases, but however, I always like the American releases, so maybe one day I will get a bunch of those too. You need everything too, so a lot of the British groups, they sometimes put singles out that weren't on the album. So you need singles if they were not on the albums. But you can use other means, which you're going to see with the Beatles. You don't have to actually have the singles, but you can have other ways of getting those songs as long as you have it on vinyl. And you're going to see how I've done that. So okay, so that's the third rule. That means you have to have every song, too, that was released during the period the Beatles were there. Okay, now you might say, well, how about the Beatle anthology? So technically they were releases, but they weren't active, so that does not count. So those are the ground rules, 3 ground rules. Okay, and just a little note about my love of the Beatles. It started, so I remember we moved to townhouse in Co-op City in the Bronx in 1971. It was August 15th. So this had to happen after that. I don't know. Probably happened in October. I remember the weather wasn't that bad. October 71, I started listening to the Beatles. I said, wow, that's really good. And I remember one of my brothers, I said to him, are they coming out with any more music? He said, no, they broke up. And I started crying. And he showed me a Kinks record, so that allayed my the group, kind of like the Beatles, not exactly, different, but they had some of the elements British. They were melodic. They had great tunes. So, all right, let's get to it. Okay, so you start off your vinyls with this one. The initial release. It's Please Please Me. Very nice copy. I acquired, and this is the penultimate to get to the Beatles thing. And what's on this? Okay, some of the better tracks I saw standing there. Please Please Me, Love Me Do. P.S. I Love You. Do You Want to Know a Secret? I think George sang on that. There's a Place, and Twist and Shout. One of the interesting things on this, at this point, it was the songwriting team was McCartney, Lennon. And on the second album, it would become Lennon McCartney for some reason. Okay, so that's the first album. Okay, so that was probably like 1963. And the second album you should have is with the Beatles, okay? With the Beatles. A lot of covers early on. It won't be long. All I've Got to Do, All My Loving, Don't Bother Me. George Harrison's first, really good song too, first contribution. Till There Was You is a cover. A couple other covers, Hold Me Tight. I Want to Be Your Man, which was later covered, one of the first Rolling Stones songs, which is one of the hits for them. Not a Second Time, and Money closes it. Again, a lot of covers, but still a great album with the Beatles. I think this came out later, 63. Okay, so with the Beatles. See if I can keep this in some kind of order. When I put them back, it won't be so bad. Oh. Okay. This one I gotta get. Wow, did I ever open this? Yeah, I think I opened it. Okay. Oh, I got this at a record shop. Pretty good price too. Album number 3, and these are the albums from Great Britain. Of course, they were cut up so they could get up extra albums. Is Beatles for Sale. Beatles for Sale. Front cover, back cover, front cover, back cover. Okay, so the boys, as they were called. Now this album is really good. I mean, every album they grew. Every album they started making greater, better, and better songs. No Reply, I'm a Loser, Babies in Black, Rock and Roll Music, which is a Chuck Berry cover. I'll Follow the Sun, beautiful song by Paul McCartney. And there's 2 covers, Mr. Moonlight and Kansas City, which Inside One. Side 2, 8 Days a Week, Words of Love, which is a Buddy Holly cover. Honey Don't, that's for Ringo. They always had one song for Ringo to sing, right? Every Little Thing, great song. I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. What You Doing? Everyone's Trying to Be My Baby. That's a Carl Perkins song that George sings. They always had one for George on each album too, till George started to grow as a songwriter. So that's their third album, Beatles for Sale. Ooh. Okay. So for the King, it's 3 for 3. Okay, next album. And this is where the Beatles really came into their own. I mean, this album was tremendous. And this is a soundtrack for the film Hard Day's Night. And the name of the album is Hard Day's Night. Okay, Hard Day's Night. This is the first album the Beatles did not do any covers. Okay, I always thought they had strong enough material. They used to give away songs. I never understood why they did covers. Front cover, back cover. Okay. Day's Night, great song. I Should Have Known Better, which was released as a single in the United States, but so it wasn't on this. If I Fell, I'm Happy Just to Dance with You, and I Love Her, Tell Me Why, Can't Bear Me Love. That's just side one. Unbelievable songs. Anytime at All begins side two. I'll Cry Instead. Things We Said Today. What a great song that is. When I Get Home, You Can't Do That. I'll Be Back. What an unbelievable album. 6-star album to me. Okay, now the Beatles start to grow a little bit. So they all their yeahs. And then I never even opened this album. Look at that. Never even opened this album. And they did some kind of movie. You know, it's funny. I never really watched the Beatles movies. I saw a little bit of Hard Day's Night. And this movie I really never saw. Maybe I should check it out one day. And this is called Help. Okay, this is a 1965 movie. Help. I need somebody. Help. Not just anybody. Okay. So this is a important album, kind of a turning stone. More personal songs. Of course, John's plea for help, which he later said was really a plea for help. So nice 180-gram vinyl reissue. Help, The Night Before, what a great song that is. You Gotta Hide Your Love Away. That might be one of my favorite Beatles songs of all time. Hey, you've got to hide. British accent. I Need You, showing George starting to grow as a songwriter. Another Girl, You're Gonna Lose That Girl. Ticket to Ride, to me one of the greatest songs ever. It just is the greatest song probably under 4 minutes ever. It's such an unbelievable song. And every second of that song is brilliant. Every second. Now, side two, I think, is the only cover on this. No, there's actually two. Act Naturally, Ringo sings. It's Only Love, John. You Like Me Too Much. That's a Harrison song. That's actually the second Harrison track. Tell Me What You See. I've Just Seen the Face. Yesterday, one of the greatest songs of all time. And Dizzy Miss Lucy, that's a cover, Larry Williams. So, it really, brilliant album. I mean, I remember the American, I was more used to this being Rubber Soul, because they cut up the albums, and they made Rubber Soul much of this. They combined some songs with Rubber Soul, so I remember Rubber Soul being a lot different, this is probably their most incredible album to me. And and the middle, the early albums, you say, okay, this is the the early period. This just is incredible. What songs on this, this is another 6-star album. Okay, so now we move to, I think, 1966, I do believe. There's 66. Okay, I think it's 1966. Okay. And this album, I don't like the British version of this album. I don't think it's that great. Of course, it's a 5-star. Everything they does is magical, especially after the first, after Hard Day's Night. I mean, the first 3 albums are great too, but this is just, and of course, Massey likes to say that, Rubber Soul. Rubber Soul, front cover, back cover, okay? And this album is an incredible album, but I don't know, for some reason I always knew the American album. I can never get used to the different tracks. So let's see what's on this. Side 1, Drive My Car, unbelievable. Norwegian Wood, This Bird Has Flown, introducing the sitar to American audiences. You Won't See Me, great song. Nowhere Man, unbelievably good song. You know, after going through this, I got to do myself. I got to just go through every Beatles song. You know, Ian McDonald wrote a great book, Revolution Ahead, and he goes track by track, but he goes in like, date order of when they made it. I don't know if I want to do it that. Maybe I'll just do it by album. Think for Yourself. That's a George Harrison song. That's a great song. The Word. Okay, that's another great song. And Michelle. That finishes up side one. What Goes On, and that's actually Ringo gets writing credit. Sings lead vocals. Girl. Looking Through You. It just makes me want to listen. But today's a CD day, so I can't do that. So maybe tomorrow I'll go listen to about 10 Beatle albums. Girl. I'm Looking Through You. That's a great Paul song. In My Life, many people think that's the greatest Beatles song. I don't agree. It's a great song, of course. Wait Till I Come Back to You. If I Needed Someone. What a great song that is. George song, terrific song. And now a song I always thought was kind of junky. Run for Your Life. I'd rather see you dead, a little girl, than to be with another man. I always laugh when people say, "Oh, Led Zeppelin's better than the Beatles, Queen's better than the Beatles, Pink Floyd's better than the Beatles." Their first album, 6 albums alone, and then this is the middle period. Unbelievable, just unbelievable how good these things are. All right, now, so it's 1966, and we're not done yet. So now they say, okay, we got to top that. Oh. Okay, so getting a little competition from this guy named Brian Wilson. So getting a little worried. So, yeah, okay, it's a little competition. So they decided to open up a little bit. And come out, this guy. Revolver. Sorry. You got a soda? No. Ooh. Okay, Revolver. Not a bad album. Revolver. Now, this album might be the greatest album of all time. It's so hard to pick. It's so hard to pick. It's just so incredible, so unreal, so good. Okay, start out with Taxman, which is a George Harrison track. I think Harrison wrote 3 songs on this album. Great song. Eleanor Rigby, just magnificent. I'm Only Sleeping, a great psychedelic sound, and you could just really trace psychedelia to this. Love You Too is a George Harrison song that has a sitar in it. You're starting to hear this instrument, which first was introduced in Rubber Soul. Pretty Paul McCartney song, Here, There, and Everywhere. Yellow Submarine, kind of the weak track on the album. Then they did a whole movie on that, and then one of my favorite songs of all time, Inside 2, She Said, I Know What It's Like to Be Dead, based on an interaction John Lennon had with Peter Fonda. He took some acid, and he went to John, he goes, I know what it's like to be dead, okay? Side 2 begins with the very breezy, pretty Good Day Sunshine, very optimistic song. And John Lennon, it's funny, I never heard a lot of these songs because they were cut from the American albums until the CDs came out with the proper British ordering. And Your Bird Can Sing was a revelation to me. I said, what? That's I never heard this song before. It's like a revelation to me. Because of the American Revolver, that wasn't on it. It's like, what a great song. And Your Bird Can Sing. And the mix and George's lead guitar, unbelievable, great song. For No One, that's a very good song. Dr. Robert, that's kind of weak actually. I never thought that was too good. I Want to Tell You, that's a good Harrison song. Now the 6 and 7 are side 2 are just great. Got to Get You Into My Life, great pop song, great. And finally, I think one of the greatest songs of all time. You can just, it's just so different, so unbelievably different. Tomorrow Never Knows, right? And that is by John Lennon. And just if you've never heard it, I don't even think I want to describe it. Just you have to listen to it. I remember my brother played it for me maybe in 1984. And I was just, wow, what is that? But it was so weird. It sounded so good. It had a melody. It's like based on a drone, and then it just, such inventiveness. It's like, where did these guys come up with this stuff? Rubber Soul was the album they were introduced to marijuana, but Revolver was the album they were introduced to LSD, and John wrote the song from the Tibetan Book of the Dead to guide him through the illusory paths, of the LSD trip. Timothy Leary had adopted it. So, Revolver. Now, if that wasn't enough, probably cracking my ups. Now, if that wasn't enough, I put this in my. Oh, now if that wasn't enough, say if you thought, okay, they might as well quit now. 1967 rolls along. Paul McCartney comes up with concept album. Let's be a fake band, He gets the idea. He's on a plane with, I think, Mel Evans, one of the roadies, or one of these hanger-ons, and he says, I forgot who I said what the other says. Pass the sausage and peppers, and he says sausage and peppers. He thought it said Sergeant Peppers. It said the sausage and peppers, Sergeant Peppers, and that whole brought an idea to him, and he thought the idea, let's make a band within a band. And then they came out with this album, but it's just not about the lyrics are in the back. No one had ever done that before. And this for a long time was considered the greatest album of all time. Many people now don't rank it like that. For some reason, and even I don't know what it is. But if you go back and listen to it, it is an incredible album. It's just, what a unbelievable. It changes. It changed music so much. This album is, changed everything. Changed the way people thought what you could do with music. Benefit of Mr. Kite throwing sawdust up in the air or whatever. John Lennon goes to George Martin. I want it to sound like a circus, and so it begins with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band concept album. Whoever thought of that? A concept album. A little help from my friends. You have Ringo singing on that. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I never thought that was such a great song. It never has like a bridge or a Getting Better, and Fixing a Hole. Those two to me are like a pair of McCartney songs that I don't know if they're really that great, but most people, they're very excellent songs, not stunners. She's Leaving Home, kind of like an Eleanor Rigby Yesterday type song. But I really love the last song by Lennon. Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite. Similar to Tomorrow Knows in terms of, not similar to the drone, but the creativity is just so mind-blowing, How did you come up with something like this? 4 years away from I Want to Hold Your Hand. Just stunning, acid. That's the only thing, LSD. Where would the Beatles be without LSD, By the way, I didn't show the whole cover, did I show? Okay, and side two. Now, this is one of my favorite songs. George Harrison's best song to me. Oh, maybe Something in here. But this is the third, Within and Without You. Great Indian music. Just terrific song. When I'm 64, another one of these schlocky McCartney songs, which has several. Lovely Rita, Mita Maid, another McCartney song. Really started to take charge at this point, where Lennon was the main protagonist of the group. He started to become the best songwriter. Lovely Rita, Mita Maid, right? good morning, and finally it ends with a song I never thought was the greatest. Starting to kind of like it again. Um, uh, and it's called A Day in a Life. Now, A Day in a Life is an interesting song, more in terms, I think, lyrically. I mean, the music's good. It has some interesting ideas. Have the orchestra play from its lowest to its highest, and all of a sudden, the big ending. But it's John saying how humdrum life is. How I read the news today. Oh boy, 4,000 holes in Blackburn, Lancashire. He blew his mind out in the car. See, all these things are on his mind. And Paul's more he has a little section. He woke up, got out of bed, and dragged the comb across my head. Went into a dream. So it's, in the last few years, I never thought it was that great. I was always thinking about it. But then someone mentioned it on one of these podcasts. And they said, it's an interesting song in that respect. That's what life's kind of about. Life is a series of days, and most of them aren't too exciting. It's kind of humdrum, Most days you go to work, and All right, so this is one of the. I mean, for many years, the greatest album of all time. But all of a sudden, for some reason, it isn't. Marvin Gaye is the greatest album of all time. What's going on? All of a sudden, I skipped it. This album, groundbreaking. More, yeah. Okay. I have to put these together. Now, I have 2 copies of the next album. Okay. Now, what happened was the Beatles decided to make a film called The Magical Mystery Tour. It didn't go over quite well, but the music was incredible. And they released it as a EP in England, but in America they released the whole album. One of the EP, one part was the EP side 1, and one was additional tracks. Now I have the original, and it sounded pretty good, but for some reason I decided to get the whole one, and the whole one actually has what was missing in this, the 24-page color book. Okay. Now on the first EP, it has a Magical Mystery Tour, the song. The Fool on the Hills, great song. Flying, I love it, instrumental. Blue Jay, kind of a downer. Your Mother Should Know, one of those schlocky McCartney songs. And I Am the Walrus, another one of the greatest songs of all time. Second side, Hello Goodbye, good single, right? Strawberry Fields Forever, many feel Lennon's best song. Penny Lane, nice, beautiful song. Baby, You're a Rich Man, Baby, You're a Rich Fag Jew. And All You Need Is Love, which I think is kind of overrated. Isn't that the 24? I don't think this is the 24-page booklet. I think this is like a very short one. Okay, so I got a better copy. Actually, it's not a bad album. A copy. So this one, of course, I'm not keeping it in the best condition. Now, I think this has the 24-page booklet. It's that 24-page booklet. Well, here it is. Yeah, now here's the 24-page booklet. See, you get a beautiful 24-page booklet, and look at that. Yeah, I gotta watch it. I heard it was terrible. Guess you could watch it from the 24-page booklet. So you get a 24-page booklet, nice reissue, great album. Okay. Magical Mystery Tour. Let's see what we're doing. 29 minutes, okay. This might take a little bit. Everyone loves the King's podcast. Okay, now, next album. I think we have 3. Actually, I'm even missing one. I didn't put the number. I actually have a numbered copy of the last one. I had so much trouble getting a good copy of this, but I do have 4 of these. Because I love this album so damn much. The next album, the Beatles wanted to go and not make an album such as Sgt. Pepper's, where they wanted to come down a little bit. They went to India. They wrote all these songs. They went crazy, and they wanted to make less instrumentation, and so they made an album called The Beatles. And since it was just plain and blank, many people just started calling it the White Album, right? Three LEs, huh? I have a numbered copy, but it's like 12 million, so I don't think that's in resident. The King one day wants to get under 10,000, and that's quite valuable, under 10,000. Ringo, by the way, has number 1. Okay, let's see, we got photos of this one. We got, also, is included. You get some photos of the boys. Right? Is that George Harrison? I couldn't lose any. This life. Got a poster. Let's see, okay, I think I got all 4. That's when you take stuff out. That's when you lose shit. And who's that? That's George. I think I'm missing one photo. That's John Lennon, and that's Paul McCartney. Unfortunately, I think Ringo is missing. Who's Ringo? Okay, Ringo's somewhere around. I'll have to find him. Poor Ringo, he's missing. All right. He's in the other copy. So I had 2 other copies, and for reasons I want to go into, I had to buy 2 more because they were in very bad condition, and let me see if I have copies in here. You see Ringo. I guess if you're going to miss a Beatle, Ringo's the least important, okay? So the White Album. So let's see, what's on this? Let's go over my favorite. I mean, it's a great album, of course, and so many great songs. Back in the USSR, Dear Prudence, one of my favorite Beatles. I love that song. Glass Onion, Obla Di, Obla Da, Wild Honey Pie, that's kind of weak. Considering the Story of Bungalow Bill, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, great song. Happiness is a Warm Gum, that's a sections, two or three songs joined together. Moth of My Idea, it's a beautiful McCartney song. I'm So Tired, that's a Lennon song, great song. Blackbird, simple, beautiful guitar song. Piggies, not a song George Harrison wanted to write. Rocky Raccoon, that's a play on American Westerns. Don't Pass Me By. They let Ringo write a song and sing his first solo credit with the Beatles. You'd have 2. Why Don't We Do It in the Road? That's Paul trying to play off John. John got very mad that he was included on that. Just 2 lines. Why don't we do it in the road? No one will be watching us. Why don't we do it in the road? I Will. Paul's song Julia is a song about John wrote about his mother. Okay, that's first album. Birthday is a song about a birthday. You're Blues, great. John Lennon song. Mother Nature's Son. That's a Paul song. I love that song. Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except for Me and My Monkey. It's one of the longer song titles, and that is a great song. Sexy Sadie about the Maharishi. Should have been Maharishi. What have you done? You made a fool of everyone, right? Helter Skelter, of course, everyone knows that. Long, 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 that's a George Harrison song. Revolution #1 is like the single, but a little slower. Honey Pie, that's another Schlocky Harrison song. I'm sorry, Schlocky McCartney song. Savoy Truffle, that's a song about, I think, Eric Clapton getting his rotting teeth from eating too many chocolates. Cryberry Cry is an interesting John Lennon song. Revolution #9 is probably the first avant-garde song introduced to the public at large. And Good Night is a song that John Lennon wrote for Ringo to sing, and she described in an interview as possibly overly lush. So there you have it. Okay, so they did a lot of albums. Now, King thought he was a completist, but then he realized he was missing an album. What does he do? So he orders it from Puerto Rico. And it finally took him 4 weeks, and he became a completist. Now this album, unfortunately, the album looks pretty good, but the cover is really bad. I can't even read some of it. But let me take out the vinyl. Let me see what's on it. It's called Yellow Submarine. It came out, I think, in early '69. There are some original songs on it. Okay. Ooh, there is a nasty scratch, but it's on the second side, thankfully. Let me see the first one. Okay, might need a wash. Looks pretty good. Just a little couple of things. Let me see. It doesn't look too bad though. Alright, so what's on the first side? There's some new songs. That's why Yellow Submarine isn't new. Only Another Northern Song is new. All Together Now, that's a McCartney song. Hey Bulldog's a great song, and that was never released. It's All Too Much is new too, I do believe. I don't think that's a long one. 6 minutes, 27 seconds, and All You Need Is Love. The second side consists of incidental music by George Martin. Pepperland, Medley, Sea of Monsters, March of Meanies, and Yellow Submarine in Pepperland. So give this a listen tomorrow. Today's CD day. Okay, so this was released, I think, in January or February of '69. Okay, cover is not that good. Okay, but got it for pretty cheap. So I went to the record store and I thought it was $14.99. I put it in. All of a sudden, I get a $300 bill for records. And I said, why is it so high? He goes, oh, the Yellow Submarine is $149.95. Wow, that's why you need a good cover, people. Holy moly. So, $149.95. You know what I could do for you? It's a record. $149.95. Okay, so we're almost done. And get in there. Okay. So I think it took 4 weeks from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Alright, now, this next album. Now, the Beatles did some work in the studio, but they had a lot of issues, so nothing came of it in January of '69. And so then they said to themselves, let's go and do an album. The whole idea was to do an album with no overdubs. So then they got together and said, let's go back and do an album the way we used to. And this album, called Abbey Road. Front cover, back cover. And this might be the King's favorite album of all time. You know, this and Revolver, I think, are neck and neck. But, you know, because this is one of the first albums I ever listened to. So, it just brings me back to like 5 or 6 years old. No worries in the world. It's such a beautiful album. The cover, everything about it's perfect. You know, just seeing this reminds me of simpler times. I just got to give it a little nod. So what's on this? Come Together, Something. Maxwell Hill. Okay, got a bad song. Oh Darling, it's a pretty good song, right? Octopus Garden, very good, excellent song by Ringo. I want you so bad. She's So Heavy. Okay, pretty good side one. Side 2, Here Comes the Sun, not a bad song. Because, excellent song. You Never Give Your Money, great. And then, okay, the long medley, I think, right? Sun King, the Lennon song. Sounds a lot like Albatross from Fleetwood Mac, right? Me, Mr. Mustard, right? Polythene Pam, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. Golden Summers, Carry That Weight. And the end. What a great album. This is unbelievable. Wow. Okay, now which one came later? I'm going to say, alright, no, because that's a compilation. Okay, so now they had all these tapes left back, and John Lennon called Phil Spector, and he said, I had a shitty time in the studio. You think you'd help us out, Phil? So what he did is he looked all over the tapes, and he put strings on some of them, and he came out with a Zoom video, a Zoom call. It's called Let It Be. So this album has some good parts, some bad parts, and You know, probably if they got together, they could have redone some songs, added some songs. Some of the solo albums were much better. So what's on this? And this is a lot of the material before Abbey Road, but it was released after Abbey Road. So what's on this? Well, you got Two of Us. Good song. Dig a Pony. Good song. Across the Universe was actually taken from a single, which is Across the Universe. It was Dressed Up with Strings. I Me Mine is actually, interestingly enough, the last Beatles song ever done. It was actually done in 1970. It was done by Ringo, George, and Paul. And what happened was, I think the first part of it was redone again. So they actually extended the song. Dig It was a long, rambling song which was edited into a short thing. Let It Be, of course, is the classic. And Maggie May, it's funny, John Lennon always hated Let It Be. So in the song placement, he put it right next to Let It Be, Maggie May's song by the prostitute. And he always used to say to, in 1970, really, that song sounds just like Bridge Over Troubled. You copied it over Bridge Over Troubled Water. The problem was, Let It Be was written before Bridge Over Troubled Water. Okay, side two, I've Got a Feeling, great song. One After 909, so they took this song from 1963, and it sounds pretty good. I think it's from the Rooftop concert. Right? The long and winding road. Dressed Up with Strings. Supposedly John Lennon played bass on it and did a horrible job. For You Blue is a George Harrison song, not the greatest. And Get Back, that's a great song. And a lot of interesting stuff's going to come around because they are releasing a new version of the Get It Be film, which supposedly shows the film in a better light. Now, at this point, you should have every Beatle track, but you don't. And the reason is because there are singles, right? There are singles. In Britain, they would release singles and not... Oh, what was that? Okay, well, they released, let's see where, a very long podcast. Hope I didn't bore you. Okay, so they released singles and they would not put them on the album. So, so what do? You'd have to buy all the singles, and quite a lot. But this album, it used to be on CD, solved everything. The Beatles past masters. They also have a mono message, but I never got that. I hate mono. Okay? And a very nice album. A must for any serious Beatles collection. So this album has that thing where now you don't have to get the singles because every single is on this. Let's see what's on this. Love Me Do, the original single version. From Me to You. Thank You Girl, She Loves You, which is not on any album. I'll Get You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, right? One of the most famous songs, not on any albums. This Boy, Come Give Me Dein Hand, and Sie die Lieg. Those are two German versions that the Beatles recorded, right? Okay, side two, it's a double album. Long Tall Sally, I Call Your Name, Slow Down, Matchbox, I Feel Fine. That's a great song they didn't include on the albums. She's a Woman, another unbelievably great Paul McCartney song. Bad Boy, Yes It Is. What a great song that is. I'm Down, not such a great song. Yes It Is. Okay, side three. Now listen to this. Listen to these songs that weren't included. Day Tripper, We Can Work It Out, Paperback Writer, Rain, Lady Madonna, The Inner Light, which is an Indian song. What a great song that is by George Harrison. Hey Jude, and Revolution, the single version, which is much better than the one on the White Album. Finally, side four, the single version of Get Back with Billy Preston credited. Don't Let Me Down, also with Billy Preston credited. The Ballad of John and Yoko. John and Paul are the only players on that. The B-side now. The B-side is actually my favorite song of all time. Of the Beatles. The Old Brown Shoe. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about the Old Brown Shoe. Old Brown Shoe. is I heard every Beatles song. I was like 6 or 7 years old, but I could never hear that song. Never heard it because I couldn't play my sister's record player, and I just saw it on when I heard it, and now I'm going to show you next. And I finally heard it, and I loved it. You know, Across the Universe is next, and that's the single version for the World Wildlife Fund. The Let It Be, the single version, which is a little different. And finally, You Know My Name, look up the number, the B-side of Let It Be, which is an interesting goon style. I don't know, I'm not from England, I don't know what the goons are. All right, and there you have it. You got everything. And one more side note. So now I am a Beatle completist. Of course, there'll be someone that said you're not. Okay, this album, at least in America, and probably Canada too, is Hey Jude. Now, I don't know if it's released after or... Now this, so the American releases left out a few things too. And the things they left out were, you know, singles, and also because they butchered everything up. Let me tell you what's on this. Can't Buy Me Love was missed. I Should Have Known Better, Paperback Writer, Rain, Lady Madonna, and Revolution. Now, I used to see this sitting on my sister's record. I don't know, she had a box of records. And I would look, and I would always see that Old Brown Shoe, that last song. You see that? Old Brown Shoe. And I never could hear it. And I would get so mad. Finally I heard it. I was like, wow, I love that song. It has a great cover. One of the last Beatles photo shoots, by the way, together. You know? So, this is, I think, George Harrison's house. And on side 2, so from Britain, you probably don't know this. If you're watching this from Great Britain, side 2, Hey Jude, Old Brown Shoe, Don't Let Me Down, and The Ballad of John and Yoko, okay? So, excellent. You know, so if you're in Britain, you might want to grab this. It has 2 interesting songs. Can't Buy Me Love, and I Should Have Known Better, which are not on, to release the singles, or contain actually in the, I don't know where the, damn, I gotta get a cover for this, okay? So there you have it. The king of all mediums is a Beatles completist. So that is the, I think the second group? I don't remember. But this is the important one. Now, to be a Rolling Stones completist, that's not going to happen. They got 30 albums, 30 live albums. So this is the Hey Jude, only released, I think, in North America, not released in Great Britain. Don't like you guys. All right, so that concludes the King of All Mediums is a Beatles completist, podcast 64, and today is September, what is it, 7th, 2021, and I am the King of All Mediums. And so tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. You agree I'm a Beatles completist or not? Do I need video, photos, you know, whatever? And I'd love to hear from you. You can put comments on my timeline at BillyBA32683610, Twitter, or put it here on YouTube. Thanks a lot, and see you on the Twitter timeline.